so much for tuning in to A Greater Story with Sam Collier. My name's Sam Collier, and I am here right now in Tulsa. It's my first time in Tulsa. I just want to say that.
Yes, sir.
With, how do I want to say this? Probably one of the most influential leaders, communicators, pastors in the country right now.
You're doing too much.
I got to do it.
You're doing too much.
I have to say it. My job is to say what everybody else is thinking.
That's not.
That is
that
my
ain't
job.
true, y'all.
I cannot believe it. I mean, hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram, millions of followers on Facebook. If you've ever been on YouTube and typed in anything related to church, I'm sure you have run into him. Pastor Mike Todd is in the building. How you doing?
Man, I'm glad to be here, man. I'm excited about what this is gonna be and how God's gonna use it, man. We're brothers already.
Yo, I know.
So let's go ahead and make it happen, man.
Well, listen, we kick off this show every time with the song.
Okay.
Go to one of your favorite worship songs right now.
Man, I think the thing that's like playing on repeat right now is Resurrecting by Elevation Church, but I want to do the remix version with the Walls version. And y'all, that mug is on repeat right now.
They singing. They
Yo,
are killing.
It blesses me every morning. Here is the Walls version of Resurrecting. Let this bless you.
We bet. So I think I was at a conference, and Bishop Jakes was speaking.
Okay.
And I've heard him say this a couple times. It started off in private settings, and then he started saying it a little bit more in public settings. But he was saying that he was troubled. And what he was saying he was troubled about was the future of the church. He was going, everywhere I look, I cannot find leaders that are ready. And this was maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe 6 years ago. And so he said, I'm concerned about what we're leaving, what hands we're going to leave the church in, because I cannot see who we can pass it to. And when I think about you, and I watch everything that you're doing, and it's just been, what, 3 years that you've been pastoring?
Yeah, 3 years. 3 years as the lead pastor of Transformation Church.
Yeah. I think he's okay now.
That's crazy.
Glory
to God.
Right? I think we're all okay. I hit you up on Instagram.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm gonna be honest, this was before I researched you on Facebook. So I didn't really know how huge you already were.
Bro.
But on Instagram, I think you had just gotten on Instagram. You had like 6,000 followers at the time. And there was a clip that went viral. I mean, it popped up on my timeline, and I said, who is this dude?
That's crazy.
And it had like 30,000 views. It was growing, it was building. And I just was like, and like really I felt like the Lord spoke to me, like, you need to inbox this guy and just tell him about what you see. I felt like the Lord was just showing me things.
Bro, that was such an encouraging word.
It shocked me to this day, because I was like, hey, you know, God's getting ready to like take you.
You said it.
I mean, this was before, again. I didn't know at the time you had 1 million followers already.
No, I don't got no million followers, man. No.
Oh, it's 1 million. I looked.
Oh, for real?
It's definitely at 1 million now.
That's crazy.
So I didn't know, man. And then, then I started hearing your name everywhere.
Wow.
And you know, I'm in a lot of mixed circles.
Yeah.
I came from the black church, and now I'm over in the majority white church with Andy Stanley, and then I work for Orange, and that's kind of a mixture of everybody, but it's leaders from all around the country that are doing things, and your name is just in every hat. Every communicator I talk to, because, you know, I do speak on my own, some other things, and every communicator and young communicator and even pastor right now that is trying to learn about how to preach and how to, you know, just stay cutting edge, you top 5.
That's crazy, man.
Top 5. Out of Tulsa.
That's crazy.
Right?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. We know it didn't start where you are now.
No.
We say that when your story connects to God's story, it leads to a greater story.
Yeah.
So we try to have people on the show that are living in their greater story. That's you.
That's awesome.
Take us from little Mike.
Wow.
Up to Mike Todd.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate all of the things that you just said, man. And for anybody listening or watching, this honestly is a story, Sam, of obedience. Is a story of progression, not perfection. It's a story of God just finding somebody who would say yes, and he literally blessed the yes. Like, that's it. Like, I'm not anybody special as far as like, when it comes down to, I had a dream to do this. This was never on a vision board. Like, to pastor a church, to travel and speak around the country, none of that. Music is my first love language.
Right.
And so I grew up playing drums, and my parents are traveling ministers, Pastor Tommy and Brenda Todd. And so since I was a baby, evangelists, they would go everywhere. And so we would just go to church. I'd be playing the drums, mom be singing and preaching, dad run the sound, play the bass.
What?
And we were raised in, it was 5 boys. Every summer, we would literally, day after school, get in, whether it was a Ford Topaz or a conversion van, and we would travel until the week of school, going from city to city to city. So we used to joke that I've been in more churches than pastor. more church services than pastor's been in, I've been in them. Because we were going every night. But as I grew up, I was born into a ministry that was multi-ethnic. And a lot of people ask me a lot of times, like, how is your church so diverse? And how are you able to, well, I was born into it. My parents came to Tulsa 35 years ago to help Carlton Pearson build Higher Dimensions.
Wow.
And so before there was a church, anything, they all lived in a house together, prayed together, traveled the world together. And so when I was born in 1986, that's the church that I was birthed into. So all I saw was the rainbow. Like, I saw Skittles, like in ethnicity, socioeconomic class, all these different things. And so I thought it was normal.
Yeah.
So I've never had a predisposition to just, this is what I do, this is what I am, this is who I hang out with. It was just everybody. And so I think that kind of guided me through high school. I was the first, I went to a predominantly white school, but I was the first African-American Mr. Edison. And what that means is basically the prestigious award they give at the end of the year. I was the first black person to ever get it. And so, but I tell people this all the time. They're like, well, you don't seem, I said, I'm not Carlton Banks, I'm Will Smith.
Woo!
Like, I didn't.
Shout out to Cardinal.
Yeah. But I didn't have to change the music I liked or my expression or embracing my culture to fit in.
Yes.
I was able to speak language and assimilate and be who I was, and it worked. And so people are trying to figure out how do you da-da-da-da? And many times I feel inadequate in telling them, because a lot of things is just how God, the environment he put me in and how I was shaped. Now, as you start learning those things, there are things that you can do to accentuate and grow and understand more. But the core DNA of how God made me was to relate to all people. And I credit my dad with that because he's somebody who does that. So long story short, God tricked me into ministry. Like, that's